Hello everybody, this is Monica, the creator of Harmonic Heart, and I help women create authentic lives through the guidance of their heart. In this video, I'm going to share tips that helped me to heal from hyperthyroidism. In the previous video, I did focusing on the physical body, and this video is going to be about healing the emotional and mental body. So many of you are probably wondering, what does this have to do with the thyroid? You know, because people normally don't focus on these things. But what I've learned in my healing process is that before any diseases become physical, they come from a belief and an emotion that's been stored, a belief that you've believed for a very, very long time, and it's created an emotion that's been stored in your body. Now, our bodies don't just absorb the food that we give them, they absorb everything, including your thoughts. So if you have a negative belief about yourself and you really, really believe that it's true, it'll make it so in your life, that's all that you see, and then it'll create a feeling, and until you're able to change those beliefs, you are not going to be able to change the feeling. And that feeling is going to stay in your body for as long as it needs to stay. And the longer that it stays, the more that it works to become an actual disease. In this case, for me, it was my thyroid. When I learned about this through holistic healing, I contemplated a lot on what could possibly be stored, what emotion could be stored in my body, in my thyroid. And through doing research, I don't know if you guys know about the chakras, but I'm guessing that most of my viewers do, because I do focus on holistic healing. So that's part of, the chakras are part of holistic healing. So the chakras are center points, energetical center points in your body. There are 7 main ones. There's a lot more, but there are 7 main ones that we focus on. And the one that the thyroid is connected to is the throat chakra, and it's located right here, right next to where your thyroid is. So I contemplated on that and trying to find out if you know, the issues that I was having with my thyroid were connecting to my ability to speak up, to speak my truth. And as I tuned in myself to feel the energy of that, I realized that was true. I realized that was what was affecting my thyroid. It was my inability to be able to speak up for myself and to speak my truth and to express myself, because the throat chakra is also about expression. And as I looked back in my life, I started to connect the dots, and I realized that I've had a very hard time being able to speak up since I was little. When I was little, I was very bold. I would say how I felt, and I didn't care if it bothered people to a certain degree, but I was a little kid. And in the environment that I was raised in, which is mostly unhealthy, I basically learned that speaking up and saying what I wanted was bad. It wasn't good to do that. And anytime that I spoke up or I expressed myself in any way, I was laughed at by my family, my entire family. And I was also shamed, and I was hit. So when you're little, you learn that in order to survive, you need to be able to fit in with your family. And what I naturally did is I stopped speaking up for myself. I stopped expressing myself. I hid those parts of me away from my family because it wasn't safe to bring those parts of me out into the world. And I lived most of my life until the car accident. I lived feeling that way. I've been storing and believing that for 25 years in my body, which makes sense why my thyroid could have been affected. And now looking back at my life, I remember one of the first times, or actually there's been several times, but a very traumatic experience for me when I was in high school. There was one time where in my history class where I was given the role to play Queen Elizabeth. And I had to pretend to be her while the rest of the class asked questions. I didn't know that that's what the teacher wanted us to do, because she didn't really explain, she didn't explain the exercise very clearly. So I went into the room and didn't really do my research or anything, because I didn't know that's what we were supposed to do. And when they started picking on me, I remember freezing. I froze. I didn't know what to say. And I kept stuttering. I kept repeating the same thing over and over. And the kids saw this and they just kept picking on me because they wanted to see me fail. They wanted to see me not succeed. They wanted to see the reaction that I had, the fear that I had. And the teacher never did anything about it. She just allowed it. And because of that experience, it traumatized me, and I completely didn't even want to get involved with any of my classmates. I felt really outcasted, and I just felt like I wasn't allowed to really be me or to say anything. Instead of feeling encouraged during that time, I was being squashed. Also, when I went to college, I remember every time I would have to raise my hand, even just to raise my hand, I would feel an extreme energy of anxiety because I had to say something. Even when I had presentations in college, I think I had probably around 50 presentations. It was a lot of presenting, and it was very hard for me to be able to say anything, to speak up, because of all the past rejection and all the past criticizing and all the negative stuff that had happened because of when I had spoken before, when I had spoken up for myself before, and the reaction of people. It was a it was an issue that I didn't know how to resolve, and I wasn't surrounded around people who were loving and caring and encouraging, and I didn't have the resources or the information to be able to get through it. So instead of getting through it, I decided to shut that part of myself down and to not communicate and to hide my feelings. I also recall in relationships before when I would meet, in my last relationship, when I met my partner's parents, and we were discussing, we would hang out and talk, and several times I would try to be part of the conversation, and I would feel so incredibly small because every time that I would try to say something, they would talk over me. So it was like I wasn't even here. So I tried several times, and it just got to the point where I just gave up, and I felt small, and I felt like my purpose was just to be there because nobody was willing to even hear me, even though I was actually trying to get the courage to say something. Becoming aware of this was what helped me to face this fear of speaking, of expressing myself, and also the fact that I was really committed, 100% committed to healing myself from my thyroid problem. And if this was connected to it, I was going to do whatever it took to be able to get to the point where I could heal myself, where I was completely healed from this. So, for those of you that are watching this video and do have thyroid issues, I highly suggest that you take some time to tune in your body. Just close your eyes and tune in your body, tune in your thyroid, and ask it, what emotion am I storing here? What emotion am I storing in my thyroid? And just feel it out. The first feeling or the first thought that you get is most likely correct. But for those that do get the guidance that the thyroid is connected to their ability to speak up and speak their truth and express themselves, I do have some action steps that you can take. And these are the same action steps that I took to help me in this process. The first action step that I recommend is singing. I have been singing since I was little. And I actually used to sing with bands and perform. And it wasn't until I got to college that something shut down in me and I stopped it. And now, after that, I was super shy of people hearing me sing. I was afraid that if they heard me, that they would laugh at me, even though I didn't sound bad at all. So what I did is I went back to doing that. I went back to singing again, and I didn't do it for performance reasons anymore. I did it in my house. I started singing, and it started to open up my ability to speak up. And it also helped me to get in touch with my feelings again, because when I listen to music, I'm able to tune into the energy, to the emotions in it, and channel them through my voice, through my throat. And so that was really important for me, because before I was able to feel my feelings, but I wasn't able to express them. So for me to get connected with music that was resonated with my feelings and to express them was a really important, powerful tool to be able to speak my truth and also express myself. The next action step that I did was writing. Writing was another powerful tool that helped me get in touch with my feelings again. At that time when all of this happened, I had gone through the car accident. I had broken up with my ex in not the most pleasing way, and my life was basically upside down. And I felt so much frustration and anger, and I wanted to express it. I wanted somebody to hear it. I wanted it out of me, but I didn't know who to tell. So for me to be able to start a journal and start writing how I felt was one of the most powerful tools that I did. And I highly recommend that if you do have any of these action steps, that you do this one first. And if you only do one, just do this one, because this is so powerful. To be able to express your feelings on paper, it's not only healthy, but it is also very healing, because it helps you get in touch with your feelings and it helps you release them. And that's what you want. You don't want to store your feelings in your body, because that's the reason why people get sick. So you want to express them. It's also a safe way to be able to express your feelings, because nobody is going to read this. So if you can express your darkest feelings, nobody is going to be able to read them unless you let them. So what happened for me is that after a while of writing, I actually noticed how some of the information that I was writing was really positive and inspiring. And I noticed it wasn't even coming from me, if that makes any sense. It was coming from this source that had awareness that I didn't have. And I decided to start making a blog. So I went online and I created a blog and started posting these these journal writings that started evolving from just my feelings to something even bigger. And people started reading them and commenting on them. And so that even felt more empowering, because not only now was I expressing myself, but I was also putting my feelings out to this planet, and I was getting positive response. And then eventually what happened is that I started writing letters. So I'm all about inner healing and healing traumas and all that stuff. And I do research, and I like to look up methods that work to be able to heal that, because I'm all about having a authentic and happy life, a joyful life, that where you feel your life is authentic and it's who you are, and you feel happy and you feel joyful living your life. That's how I choose to live my life. So what I did, I actually started writing letters to people in my life who had one way or another affected me in a negative way, and I felt that they needed to hear what I had to say. So eventually I went from writing journals to writing blogs to then writing letters and sending them out. And the more that you write, the better that you get. So when you actually, if you do decide to write letters, you learn to write them in a mindful way, where it's not about venting on people. It's about being completely honest and speaking your truth. And that's what you want in order to balance and heal your thyroid and release the energy that had been stored, the emotion that's been stored here in your thyroid. The third action step that I did was doing a speech. Did you know that most people are more afraid of public speaking than they are of dying? Which is kind of silly. But when I realized that kind of was what pushed me to face this fear of public speaking, because then I wouldn't be counted as one of the people that was afraid of public speaking over dying. If that makes any sense. I was attending this spiritual group that met, I think it was every Sunday, and they had talks. They give the community the opportunity to be able to have their own sermon and share it with part of, with everybody in the community. And they needed like 3 or 4 people or something like that, and I wanted to do it, but I was really afraid, especially recalling back to the time in high school where I was laughed at. It was kind of traumatizing, but I was really committed to heal this. And since all the writing, all the other tools that I've been using, it was giving me the courage to do it. One day, when I went to the group, I realized that there was one spot left, and that's when I knew internally that that spot was for me. So I decided to take it, and I took it. And what happened was that since I had been practicing writing a lot, I used that tool to be able to express what I needed to express in writing, and then to use that as a reference so that I could speak what I had written. And I did that, and the speech that I talked about was intention, the power of intention. And when I started doing my sermon, I was completely honest with the audience and said, this is the first time I do public speaking. I have never done it before and I'm scared. And they understood it, and they laughed too, because I was making kind of a joke about it and being honest about how I was feeling and where I was. And they joined me in making fun of that in a positive way. And so I gave my speech, and by the time I was done, I had the entire people in the community coming to me, thanking me for what I shared and how powerful it was. And it was one of the most rewarding feelings that I have ever gotten in my life up to that point. To be able to share something that came from my heart and to be able to express it and people to receive it in a positive way completely changed the way that I used to feel about myself when I would speak up. It changed everything for me. All those negative experiences that happened when I tried to speak my truth before suddenly didn't matter anymore. What mattered was what was happening right now and how I was being received, and how I was sharing, what I was sharing was being received. And that completely pushed me to go to the next level. The fourth action step that I took was making YouTube videos, as I'm making right now. Since I was comfortable enough to be able to put myself in a small community and speak my truth, I felt a little bit more comfortable being able to make videos and put it out to the world. And one of the first videos that I put out was where I shared where I healed from hyperthyroidism and my spiritual awakening. And that video has gotten a lot of views, a lot of comments, and I've gotten a lot of emails from people who have questions, who are inspired by the things, by the information that I share. And that's what keeps me going, because I know that as I keep working on myself, as I keep raising the bar, people are going to see that and they're going to keep raising their bar and keep growing. And it's positive and it's loving and it's caring for everybody. The fifth action step that I took was dancing. I have been dancing since I was very little. But again, when I moved to college, I shut that part of myself down. So I stopped doing that. And after the car accident again, I started dancing again. I was introduced to dancing to a particular type of dance called Bhangra from my friend Anna. And I just kept doing it because I realized how healing it was. By the time I had been dancing for several years, it wasn't that hard for me to get adjusted to the new kind of dance. In the next few months, I ended up going from beginner to advanced classes, and I started performing again. And the performing was good because it was another way to express myself and to put myself out there and not be afraid of being seen or being heard or being expressed. And so I highly recommend dancing, especially for women. Dancing is so incredibly healing. Again, you can connect to music by emotion. So whatever feeling you're experiencing, try to find a song that has that kind of same feeling, and then express it to let it out. You want to let it out in a healthy way, and dancing is a very healthy way to be able to do that. It is also a very healthy tool to be able to stay fit, and it's really healing in every aspect. And this is why I still dance today. And the dance that I do is called World Fusion Dance. So if you want to learn more about that, you can go to my website, because it's a completely different kind of dance where it's just healing. So I highly recommend that you take a look at that and even watch maybe some of my videos just to get inspired. Sixth action step that I took was art, or in this case, photography. I'm an artist. I love art. I love anything that has to do with art. I like learning different mediums and mixing mediums, and I like art generally. But photography has always been a form of art that I've enjoyed, because through photography, it's not about capturing people, it's about capturing a feeling. And again, since I was working on healing my thyroid and expressing myself and getting in touch with my feelings, photography was a great tool to do that. Because when I was able to feel something, I looked for an image that invoked that feeling, and I snapped it and I expressed it, and then I put it out there. And it's also helped me in the sense that in photography, you need to be able to see different aspects and angles. So it was really healing too, because anytime that I felt stuck, all I have to do is go take a photo or do photography, and I start to see different perspectives in life. And you know, in the photos that I'm taking, it also helps to inspire me to see different perspective in the issue that I'm experiencing So I highly suggest that you guys take on any kind of art. It doesn't have to be photography. Photography is just my personal favorite because I love it. And I was really inspired by my teacher, my art teacher in college. So that's why I keep doing it. But I highly suggest that you guys take on any kind of art. It could be drawing, it could be painting, it could be anything. But I highly recommend that you do that, because again, the throat chakra is not just about speaking, it's about expressing. And you need to be able to express yourself in order to balance it and stabilize it again. These are the 6 tips or action steps that I have to share with you guys. Again, if you don't try all of them, I highly suggest that you try all of them. But if for some reason, you know, you're kind of shy, I would suggest that you highly start with the writing one, because that one is incredibly powerful and it will take you to new levels, and it's not that scary to do. So I highly suggest that you guys start at least with that one and just keep working at it and really be committed to healing from this. If you're really committed to healing from this, you'll keep pushing yourself and keep facing your fears and expressing yourself. And you'll, even if people, you know, are reacting in a negative way to what you have to say, it's more important that you're able to express how you feel in a mindful way than to hold it in. Because if you hold it in, guess where you're going to hold it in? Here. You don't want to do that. If you want to have a healthy thyroid, you want it out. To use that creative energy in a positive way, to be able to help and inspire people. This is why I'm doing what I do right now. This is why I've created Harmonic Heart. This is why I make videos. This is why I do blog posts. This is why I do everything in my life now. So in the next video, I'm going to share with you guys how I healed myself from hyperthyroidism from the spiritual perspective, because that was also another important tool to be able to balance and stabilize my thyroid and generally just my life. So this is all I have for you guys now. I will see you guys next time. Have a good day. Bye.